That's the thing about the universe. It will teach you that momentum doesn't always come from starting over. Sometimes it comes from not walking away. Welcome to the Endlessly Elated podcast. I'm your host, Kathleen Pagan, founder of Endlessly Elated, cook, designer, storyteller, and soon-to-be author. But at heart, I'm a woman endlessly curious about what it means to live with intention. Week after week, we'll slow down, reflect, ask life's big questions, and uncover the lessons that help us live more thoughtfully. Hello, welcome to 2026. I've been reflecting how the beginning of a year carries more expectation than almost any other moment throughout any given year. There's something about January that can make us feel late to our own lives, even though as you listen to this, we are only 5 days into the new year. But it has a way of convincing us that something should already be happening before we've even had time to catch our breath. It's what I call the unspoken demand of a new year. The calendar turns, we're now in 2026, and suddenly we're expected to announce who we will become over the next 12 months. With complete confidence to have answers to questions we haven't even asked yet. At every turn, you see it everywhere. We're told to set intentions, create goals, turn a new leaf. Become that woman. Or as the kids say, to lock it in. We're somehow expected to move forward in leaps and bounds, as if the simple act of crossing into the new year suddenly determines how well our lives will turn out in the next 365 days. And even when we resist it, even when we know this isn't how life actually works every year, we still feel it. That low-grade pressure that makes stillness feel irresponsible. And if you don't move fast enough, you risk falling behind. You feel like you've missed the window of opportunity. But for some of us, there have been years when January didn't ask for forward motion at all. Sometimes it isn't the fresh beginning so many of us have been taught to expect, or worse off, fall victim to. What if this January, this season, the beginning of this year, isn't asking you to bloom, but to do the unseen work that makes blooming possible? Forcing spring doesn't cancel winter. It might just be overriding what the season needs from you. And that's wintering. Not the cozy, cold version, the human one, the Mother Nature one, the kind that's meant to pull your energy inward and the one that your instincts should listen to. I often think about trees when I think about this concept, not metaphorically, but practically, or I guess both. When winter comes, trees don't misunderstand the season, ever. They don't keep sending energy to their leaves when there's no light to support them. They actually recognize it and stop feeding what can't be sustained. They drop what would cost them too much to keep alive, and they redirect their resources underground, strengthening their roots so they can survive conditions that no longer support visible growth. Visible being the key word, because no one can argue that strengthening your roots, even when it can't be seen, isn't growth. But why do we do it differently in those moments that instinctively feel like we shouldn't push ourselves? Have we decided we're smarter than our instincts? Trees survive because they know when to change how they grow. We struggle because we don't. At the beginning of 2025, I remember feeling so out of sync with the way the beginning of the year was supposed to feel like. Can I also just say that there's nothing that gets me going more than goal setting or checking off to-do boxes? I know, I have a problem. But you can only imagine my resistance, my pushback, when January didn't feel like a blank slate. Instead, it felt like a period of adjustment, and I needed to learn how to hold myself differently within it. And before I go on, I will confess, I still did it. had a whole day retreat dedicated to it, 2025 goals, and the list was plentiful. But the truth was, I was only a few months into living in a new country, still in a short-term rental that didn't quite feel like home. I hadn't figured out my routines yet. I didn't even know my neighborhood instinctively. I didn't yet have the kind of familiarity that lets your nervous system feel relaxed, all the while deeply immersed in my work. The workaholic in me beams at the thought of it. Still trying to figure out how to run my business from abroad, knee deep in the process of seeking representation for my cookbook, and on and on. You get the gist. I was living inside decisions I had made long before the year turned. It's like everything worked, technically, but nothing felt ingrained. Yet, none of it was new. It was ongoing, unfolding, and honestly, still very fragile in most places. So when January arrived with its familiar script, the old New Year, New Me narrative, I had to face the fact that the truth was I wasn't becoming someone new. I was becoming myself, a person whom I was desperately seeking for more than a decade. And what a disservice it would have been to abandon the work of shedding just to be performative for a new year, to give into the illusion of starting over when that was never meant to be my point in the first place. For me in 2025, I was supposed to be wintering. I didn't need new intentions or goals. I needed space. I needed consistency. I needed to stay my course and resist the pressure of turning a new leaf. But plot twist, I didn't. I continued on. I kept looking at that goals list, feeling inept, not achieving what I set out to, not checking off the boxes. And then, because life will always kick your ass, something happened. And when I say something happened, what I mean is that what was happening was nothing at all. Because the universe will have you stuck if you don't listen. So as the months passed, I had no other choice but to retreat, to find winter and spring and summer and even fall. I went back to my decisions coming out of 2024. I pulled back the veil on my goals list and focused on what I had set in motion. And then, like magic, my energy started expanding naturally. The unfamiliar started to feel navigable, then familiar, then slowly like home. And then I realized, had I not given into the pressure to start over, I would have never disrupted the very momentum I was in the middle of building. Because that's the thing about the universe. It will teach you that momentum doesn't always come from starting over. Sometimes it comes from not walking away. And I know what you might be thinking, so let me clear it for you. Oh, yes, just 2 days ago, I looked at my 2025 goals and felt a bit of shame. I won't lie. There were things on there I never got around to doing, but I reminded myself that I got everything I wanted. I live in a new country that feels more like home than anything ever has. I'm in the best shape I've been in over a decade, and I got that representation I was seeking for my cookbook. So yes, I didn't check every box, but they were only the ones that never belonged on the list to begin with. I want to pause here. If you're listening on the free feed, this is where today's episode ends. What comes next is less about my story and more about yours, about learning how to recognize when a season is asking you to stay, not start over. To continue the conversation, join me inside the subscriber space. You'll find the link in the show notes. Please make sure to follow wherever you stream your podcast and share it with someone who might enjoy it too. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll chat next week. Bye.